How is it going, Schmoville? This is a pretty crazy episode. Almost nostalgic. Not almost. It was very nostalgic for me listening to this episode as I'm posting it here for you guys on the Schmoes Know podcast channel. As you know, if you're following the show or have been following the show, we're in Phase 5 right now, broadcasting from Maria Menounos and Kevin Undergaro's studios, and we have our own network. It's really cool. It's started. We have a brand new studio. You can check that on the main channel. It's up there all the time. You can check it out on schmoesknow.com. But it would have never gotten to where it was had it not been from, obviously, the beginning of the show. Phase 1 was, 7, 8 episodes. I forget how many, maybe 9 episodes. They're all up on this channel. And then Phase 2 really got us going. This is where we brought Catherine Reitman on. This is where we had Katie the engineer. This is when Ken Knapsack joined us for a few more episodes. And in this particular episode, what's so cool about this one, this was like a Hunger Games. If you haven't seen the Hunger Games still, the first one, you're going to be spoiled because it's a full spoiler on the Hunger Games. Catherine and I go back and forth, both being huge fans of the books and talking about how we were a little underwhelmed from the film. And then Kenny kind of chimed in because I got Ken involved in the novels as well. And then he tells his story on it. And we talked about Hunger Games for a very long time. It's the majority of the episode. But what was really cool was that at the very end of this episode, I got the confirmation, I guess, on my phone that we were going over to the Toad Hop Network, and that was going to happen a few weeks later. Little did I know that would catapult us into the level of the show that we're at right now, Phase 5, because again, if it wasn't for Toad Hop, we wouldn't have the show that we have. So this is the end of Phase 2 right now. This is the last show of Phase 2. After this episode, all the Toad Hop episodes will start to air on the podcast channel. That would be Phase 3. It's coming up, but enjoy the end of Phase 2 with the Hunger Games spoiler podcast with myself, Catherine Reitman, and Ken Knapsack. This was actually one of the last episodes that Catherine ever really co-hosted. She came back here and there during Toad Hop, but this was the last of Phase 2 where really she was the co-host. So again, enjoy it. It's a fun one. Enjoy. Thanks, guys.
All right, guys, welcome back to the Schmoes Know podcast. And guess what? Mark Ellis is not here, and that is good for
God.
Yes, that is good for us. But joining me yet again is the lovely, the beautiful, the funny, and if I wasn't married, Kenny Knapsack. How are you, Kenny?
I'm so glad to be back here. And it's okay, man. We always have that alley behind La Brea.
That is
Beverly.
That is very
Room
true.
5.
And
I feel like I should go.
Oh, who's that? Of course, I am just messing about. It is the one and the only Miss Catherine Reitman.
Christian, what is going on with you today? Messing about?
Messing about.
You sound like a bad radio guy right now.
I'm just messing about here on the Schmoes Know podcast. And coming
Mark
up is...
would make so much fun of you right now.
Mark has a lot of things that everyone can make fun of him about, but he's not here, and there's a good reason why he's not here. Besides telling yuck jokes in Kentucky with Steve Renazzisi, and actually when this podcast comes out, he'll still be there. So if you're in Kentucky, you should check him out, and that's the last plug he's getting on his show.
He is very funny.
Yes. We are going to be talking about all things Hunger Games.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. All three of us, myself, Catherine, and Kenny, are huge Hunger Games fans. We've read all three of the books, and Catherine and I have already seen the movie. Kenny has not.
I'm still in my tent waiting in front of the line.
Our producer, Katie, is also a big fan, so she's going to be hearing about the movies for the first time. She doesn't know what she's expecting, so she's got everybody here is on their feet waiting for Catherine and I to talk about the movie. But one thing I do want to talk about, Katie, who has been with us for 7-8 months now and has made the podcast absolutely incredible, will not be with us from now on. But that is because she's moving on to bigger and better things. Let's say that. No,
I don't know if there's such a thing.
I know, I kid. But what I'm saying is...
This is my peak.
This is your peak.
Yeah.
You're done. She actually told us she's leaving because Kenny keeps coming back on the podcast.
Understand. Understood.
No, but she's very busy. She's got a lot of stuff going on. But we are happy to say that we are going to be moving to another network. I will be posting it, but because of this, the Schmoes Know podcast will be on hiatus probably... April, we won't have any shows. May is probably when we'll come back. So check Facebook and Twitter when we'll be back, and check the YouTube channel, and we'll let you know. But without any further ado, let us talk Hunger Games.
Oh, so fun.
Here we go. And by the way, let everyone know right off the top, if you're listening, this is a spoiler-heavy show. There are going to be spoilers throughout the entire show.
I have a pile of spoiled meat.
Yes, there's going to be stuff about all the books. There's going to be stuff about the movie. If you haven't read the books, if you haven't seen the movie and you don't want to know, wait until you've read or seen the movies to listen to this podcast, because we are not going to be responsible because we've just told you. All
Yes.
right, here we go. So let's talk about the book first. Now, what is it that made everybody such huge fans of the first, second, and third book? What was it, Catherine?
I gotta say, out of the 3 books, and I've actually heard this from a lot of people, but not until rereading the first book was I reminded how powerful that first book is.
Right.
I mean, it's really just such a well-structured story. You feel so much for these characters. I mean, I don't think I've ever identified so quickly with a character as Katniss Everdeen.
Right.
And I really don't understand how I wasn't cast as her. It's something that
Your bow and
troubles
arrow
me.
skills are horrendous.
That is inaccurate.
Really?
I am killer with a bow and arrow.
That's right. Well, if to prove that, you guys should look at Catherine's latest review of the Hunger Games on her channel. Catherine's channel is BID or backslash Catherine.
YouTube / Catherine Reitman.
That's right. So that's. I'm all over the place right
You're
now.
a little
but
charged
I'm
up
a
right
little
now.
charged up
Excited.
because I am excited
Like a little
because a lot
Christian
of
is
things,
bright red. He's hunched over.
I am hunched over.
He's
It's-
wearing
it's
his
tough.
signature hat.
My signature hat. And
He's
I
got
have
baby spit all over his shirt.
And what shirt? What does that say? Because you have no idea what that is. What is that?
I dig guys. Is
No,
that what it
that's
says?
that's the wrong shirt. That's the wrong shirt.
Linsanity,
That's your
that's
high
the
school shirt. What
translation.
is this?
It says Lynn Sanity.
Amazing, and nobody else knows what it means.
Amazing.
except- yes,
He's a
I love it.
basketball player. We get it.
No, she didn't know. I know.
Of course I know who it is.
This is,
He's very tall.
and
He's
Katie,
Asian.
before you leave, I am going to razz you about this giant shirt that you had on. That is, Katie. She lost a bet, and I can't wait to give her some shit. But that has nothing to do with the Hunger Games. There's a different.
Let's talk first book.
Yes, first book.
book.
Now, what for me?
Can I talk about how I didn't read it for 2 years, and you kept telling me to read it for 2 years? And how
I've told
Christian
you a
Harloff
couple-
is right. Is how I've learned to live my life now.
And how many I've given? Plenty of times I've given you advice, and you'd be like, and then have I ever steered you wrong?
No, only in women, but that's okay,
fine.
and stand up comedy. But you had been telling me for years, and I did go to purchase the book one day, and I found it in the young adult section, and that turned me off, and that was a big mistake, and
Right.
that's a mistake I think a lot of people still make to this day.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's a couple things that drive me nuts about comparisons. And the first comparison
Is Twilight.
Twilight definitely, because I think the reason that they compare it to Twilight is for the fact that it's a phenomenon with the books because
Love triangle.
there's love triangles and teenage themes. That's where it stops because the love triangle, it kind of hits towards really
Well,
like
the first book is not even
it's
existent.
like
It's not
non-existent.
even-
It doesn't
it's
exist.
just Peeta and Katniss.
Right. I mean, you see a little bit of the, more in the movie, the glances and stuff. Oh, okay, we're going to be getting into that shit later on. But it's really
But
even
hardly.
hardly. It's not like
He seems almost like a brother figure who happens to be ridiculously hot.
it's not
Right?
But Kenny thinks so.
Absolutely.
It's not-
Posters hanging on my wall.
I would touch his boner. I'd do all sorts of things to it. Let's move on.
That's fine. This is turning into a great podcast already. All right, so we had
Can I just say another reason why it's not similar to Twilight?
Yes.
Is that the protagonist, Bella Swan, that's
doesn't
her name on the
frown.
Twilight.
She smiles sometimes. You mean?
Well, she actually is proactive.
Right,
She's
right.
not some passive ass clown
Right.
that waits for a goddamn
See.
tiger to walk through her window and
Right.
a vampire. I mean, this
Story-
is,
Storytelling 101.
you know,
No.
she's taking care of her little sister. She's got to be
Yes.
basically the man of the house.
She's one of the strongest characters, female characters, to come along at the same time. Since
I would say
Melissa
character
McCarthy.
period. I'd say character period.
Yeah, she's a really good
Male
character.
or female.
Yes, I agree with you. And the thing, and that's what I think made the book so special is the fact that when you are with Katniss, like she's not just this. She is a badass, but she's not a badass who just is like Rambo who runs around. She's she has these human tendencies, and she's scared when she's supposed to be
And
scared.
she has heart.
She also comes into those characteristics later. You know,
Right.
She doesn't just, it's not Rambo from the start. She
Right.
learns to grow into herself and kind of become this badass
Yep.
throughout the story. You're kind of going along with her. That's, I think, part of the story growth that got me into it was
Right.
you're seeing this happen. You're seeing someone come into their own
And
because
what
she
is-
had to.
And I think part of what makes that so beautiful is that, in fact, usually you always follow this man, and he falls in love with a woman, and the woman is what softens his heart, and all of a sudden he's vulnerable, and
Right.
he sees colors he's never seen in the world before.
Right.
But actually, Katniss softens, I'd say, in the arena
Yes.
due to Peeta.
Absolutely, and I think again, it just shows you like her transformation.
Did we just turn into a book club, P.S.?
Yes, for this
It
is
did.
going to be a
It
book
did.
club. I mean, there's going to be a lot of stuff going
I'm
on. There's-
scrapbooking as we speak.
there's
Can I have
gonna
some macaroni shells?
Yeah, we're passing it on to you right now. I think there's going to be a lot of emotion that actually comes from all three of us as well, too, because there's a lot of stuff. I mean,
Absolutely.
I can't wait to see your reaction, Kenny, when we start talking about the film. But
Oh, man.
But wait a minute. So anyway, like that was the thing. Besides Katniss being such a great character, and the reason she is such a great character is that she has great characters around her. There are so many. The character development in the Hunger Games is so great.
Rich. It's
You're
so rich.
I mean, from Effie Trinket to Haymitch is like my favorite character, and there's so much with
The
him.
drunk Han Solo, I call him.
Yeah,
Yep.
and he is.
Yeah,
and,
it's
and
great.
there's
Star
such-
Wars reference, Captain.
Cinna.
Sorry.
Notice how I got into it. You put it in the costume Hunger Games. I'm all of a
That
sudden into
works,
Star
and
Wars.
she gets it. Yeah, it's true. No, but the thing with him is, again, all these characters from Haymitch to Peeta to Gelly all have evolution. And throughout the entire story, which is so great about it. And going from the first novel, there's so much setup and there's so much character development and there's so much emotion throughout the whole thing.
Right.
This is where I think the movie loses some steam.
Well, especially because, you're already given... It's difficult with a movie, and I hate to make... I know we're not quite talking movie yet, so I won't do any comparisons yet.
Right.
But there are so many characters within the book that are so much stronger than in the film.
Absolutely.
And then there's a few characters in the film that I didn't even really pay attention to you in the book.
In the book, right? Like Seneca Crane.
Well, I was going to ask.
I thought we weren't doing this. I thought we
can do
were...
it. Why- we
there's
just
no rules?
There's no rules.
I would
Let's do
say
it now.
Caesar
It's like the
Flickerman.
arena. There's just no rules.
I would say Stanley Tucci.
Stanley Tucci. You don't think Stanley Tucci was pretty big in the book?
Yeah, but when you see Stanley Tucci bring Caesar Flickerman to life, and for those of you who forgot, because I'm terrible with names, Caesar Flickerman is basically the announcer of the Hunger Games.
Yeah.
He's the one who interviews her.
He's the Chris Harrison.
He's the Chris Harrison.
Yeah.
So that being said, I did I enjoy him in the book? Yeah. Did I think he actually was he felt like the one representative of the Capitol other than Cinna, and maybe who was kind of on the side of the tributes. Like he really wanted to show
See,
them.
I didn't feel that in the book. In the book, I felt like he was putting on, like, as where Cinna really felt that. This guy was a great host and knew, like any other really good reality TV show host would, to make you feel the emotion by showing that he cares. He doesn't give a shit. Like he's all about.
That's inaccurate. I just read the first one again. Katniss says more than twice. You can tell that Caesar Flickerman actually wants to show the best side. He wants to get the audience
Absolutely.
invested. He wants the sponsors.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think.
But it's kind of like a ringmaster. That's what he knows how to work the crowd for a pop. He knows how to work the crowd for...
He knows they're going to die. He doesn't care, but he wants... I think that we're on the same page because
Right.
like he wants to make you look great and to bring out all the emotion, to make the audience go, oh man, I love that person.
Right.
Because it's the host, and I don't think because he's great at what he does.
Now, after seeing Stanley Tucci portray him, do you feel... Because I think that Stanley Tucci brought some comedy and a life to him that I didn't feel off the page.
Mm-hmm.
However, I felt the ringmaster quality you're talking about more when I watched Stanley Tucci.
Sure, and that's when they
More
announced,
manipulative.
When they announced Stanley Tucci was going to be playing Caesar Flickerman, I was just excited because I said this guy's going to be able to nail it. He was the one besides Jennifer Lawrence. He was the guy that I thought was exactly what I thought of when I was reading the character.
Yeah, he steals every scene he's in.
He's so good, and the faces he makes are insane throughout it, and he really gets you in. Like you feel there's a scene in the movie when Kat, and this is the thing that we were talking about before, how she's really, what's so great about her is how vulnerable she is and how like kind of green she is to all of this.
Yep.
So when there's a scene like when Caesar Flickerman interviews her and she gets on stage and these hundreds of thousands of people are watching in the audience, and Gary Ross does this scene through the sound. And the way that you're like through Katniss's point of view, and the sound kind of, I felt like it's like when you're on stage, performing, and it's just all you hear is like your inner thoughts and like just this deafening sound, and it was so intense of that scene. But I just thought
I could not disagree more.
Really?
And usually,
wow.
actually, Christian and I
Intrigue.
usually agree on most movies.
Yeah.
I loved everything involving the Capitol. I thought it was one of the things the film brings to life that the book can't, because you're actually seeing the costumes and the whiskers and all these crazy details
green
that you
skin
can't
and all
see.
that stuff,
Yeah,
yeah.
totally. The makeup. But that scene, there's a handful of scenes in the first book that happen. One of them being when Katniss steps in for Prim in the Reaping Day.
Right.
Another one being that interview. Spoilers all around, when she buries Rue in flowers. When, there's all these moments that are, when you're reading the book, you get goosebumps. They're epic. And it's kind of one of the reasons I was...
Or tears.
Or tears. Which, by the way, I'm right with you. Let's touch
Yeah.
fingers.
Yeah.
Human
Oh,
contact.
really nice.
Cried
Wish
over
I was live
Ruth.
streaming there. That's
We
true.
both cried.
I said good riddance. I'm just kidding.
But those are some of the moments that make you line up to see this movie, because you're so ready to watch that
Right.
being brought to life.
Right.
And I thought, and I adore Gary Ross. He wrote Dave, which is my favorite movie of my father's. I'm a big fan of this guy. he had so much story to do in 2 hours and 20 minutes, and some of these scenes felt like trailer moments. They just flew so fast that you lose the reaction. And it's all, it's a lot of handheld. So it's shaking
There's
around.
a lot of quick,
And that interview, I'm so sorry I'm taking forever.
No,
but that interview with Stanley Tucci and Jennifer Lawrence, I felt like it went by so quickly. And I remember reading that scene. And
you read it the
so-
same day. You read it the day you saw. We'll talk about that next. But go ahead.
I think I screwed myself,
You
and
screwed yourself.
Christian agrees.
Yes.
But that scene didn't have the magic that it did in the book.
Listen, there's a lot of scenes. I agree with you in the fact that there are a lot of scenes in the movies that does not capture the magic in the book. That happens for a good percentage of this movie. That doesn't take away from the fact that it's a well-made movie, and I think that because there's such an investment from the fan base that you're going to be disappointed.
Oh,
and
go
I
see this
think-
movie. This is a good movie.
You absolutely should
no
see the movie.
argument
Now,
there.
one of the reasons, Catherine and I we were like two nerds ready to see E.T.
I was in costume.
Yeah, and I forgot
Christian,
mine.
true
I
or
was
false,
bummed.
was the first person in line of the press
That
con.
is very true. And you went to, I think, Melrose and bought a Mockingjay shirt or something?
I was pretty dressed up. I was pretty dressed up.
It was pretty
Cosplay
great.
action.
So look, it was the first time, and Ellis said this in our review, that it's like you could feel the excitement in the air before, and we were at a press screening, so you could feel the excitement in the air at a press screening.
Can you imagine Tonight at Midnight? Or
It's going to be insane.
Yeah.
So like the energy in the air when you see it, it's going to be fun. It's an absolute must see in the theater, regardless of your expectations. That being said, Catherine and I she told me that she read the book again the day we saw the screening, and in my head I'm going, uh-oh.
expectations are so high.
They're so high.
I just cried.
And not just so high, it's like you have every detail in your head. Because I saw Harry Potter 3, the third movie, which is by far the best of all the movies, the Alfonso Cuarón one.
Agreed.
Prisoner.
Agreed. 100%.
And I read the book the day before I saw the movie, and I was disappointed in it.
Now, can you say that, though, about Girl with the Dragon Tattoo?
The Girl with Dragon 2 I actually never read it for that reason.
I read that same book a few days before for the second time in anticipation of the film, and I was fucking blown away.
I'm wondering if that maybe would have helped me.
No, it's because David Fincher did a better job than Gary Ross.
I liked that movie. I didn't love it. And I agree with you there, but here's the thing, though. That's a great point with the fact that Gary Ross and David Fincher, here's what the two...
David Fincher changed the story. David Fincher actually brought the story to life.
And David Fincher did a good job, too.
But, classic Christian. Classic Christian.
But the difference, and I think that this is a thing that I think handcuffed Gary Ross, and this is a point that we have to talk about, the rated R to PG-13. Now, I absolutely understand 100% why Lionsgate and Ross had to make this movie PG-13 for the audience behind the book. I get it. But the problem is it really hurts the emotion of the film, especially in the arena scenes.
My favorite scenes, though, weren't... I mean, other than... Sorry, 2 scenes in the arena are my favorite scenes, but the big moments that are actually... They don't involve blood or swearing or sex. Gary Ross still could have captured it regardless of the rated R.
I don't disagree with you at all. But what I'm saying though is the fact that, like, think about, and again, this is spoiler stuff. So think about in the book,
yes,
when Rue dies. Okay, there's so much lead up to this, and this goes to your first point of how much the two of them bond throughout, and because 2.5 or 2 hours and 20 minutes, their relationship in the movie happens so fast. So they're talking for a second. The next thing you know, they're laying together in a camp, and then it happens. And when she dies, it comes through. It looks like someone was making it for because there's no blood in it, not at all. It just looks like she's acting the poor kid because there's no blood or anything to it. It doesn't seem realistic. And then when Katniss shoots in the book, when she shoots the guy, it hits him in the neck, and it's this gruesome, bloody death.
Yes,
she shoots this guy in the chest in the movie. It goes so fast, it's gone. Next thing you know, she's
it's bloodless. It's also dirtless.
Yeah, and without Jennifer Lawrence's amazing performance in that scene, it's almost forgettable scene.
I would say it's still forgettable, and I love Jennifer Lawrence. I also think that there is so much starvation and filth in the book.
Yes.
And in that final scene
totally
on the cornucopia, when those crazy wolf dogs are running around.
Yeah,
mutts.
That like transition period of when the capital is deciding whether let them live or let them die, and the berries come out and they're there forever, and Peeta's slowly bleeding to death, and there's all this craziness going on, and I'm weeping, and she describes how that orange juice glass is set before her when she goes up into the aircraft, and her nails are so dirty. There's just none of these details. No. There's no dirt.
Yeah,
she's barely sweating.
Absolutely, and I think, and one of the things too, I think that the rated R thing helps again though too because of the intensity, the grit, you just do so much more with it because you can do. There aren't as many rules, so you can
Right.
do. And you can. But I think normally I hate voiceover. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of it. This movie would have benefited greatly from a voiceover because you
100%.
You need to be inside of her head.
So what did they do, Christian, instead of a voiceover? They have frickin' Caesar Flickerman
right.
doing voiceover. So
Right.
basically, like the Tracker Jackers.
Right.
So
right.
how would we know they're Tracker Jackers unless we hear Katniss's monologue in her
Right.
head going,
Explaining the history. And
yes, and the
ties in
hallucinations
rebellion, yeah.
and
they give the explanation. The problem is,
and basically Caesar
Caesar
Flickerman's
Flickerman.
like, now are those Tracker Jackers?
right,
They sure are.
And they reminded me of the NASCAR guys from Phantom Menace. Like but way more likable because. But the thing is, you're taking a moment to where
You're scaring me here.
But
Both of
listen,
you are scaring me here.
but you're making.
And by the way, I was depressed for about 24 hours.
Okay, I can deal with that.
That's the reality.
I've been depressed for 35 years.
You watched my review. You watched the review, right? I was torn throughout the review.
Yeah,
And
but
It's really tough.
But Ellis seemed to enjoy himself.
right, and I want to get to
That's
that point.
that's
I want to
I
get
think
to
the
that
people
point.
who don't read this book are going to have such a good time.
Yes, and I want to definitely because that's the thing is I read the book. The people asked, and it was one of the questions that we got was why is this book such a phenomenon? Because it does this thing that it's just like one of the things that I love about a real movie, and one of the reasons, like a Dark Knight example, the reason it was so successful is because it took this character that everyone loved and put it in this real setting.
Yeah.
When you are in the arena with Katniss, it feels real. I
think one of the big strengths of the book is when you're leading up to the games itself. Christian's maid's just walking by. Don't bother that. When you're reading that part of the book and she gets selected and you know what's going to happen just by picking up the book, you know what you're getting into. But I think the build up to that and the anticipation, you so easily put yourself into it. I actually was like breathless, like waiting for the games to start,
Right.
like fearful, like what would I do? She did such a good job to put that stuff into the story where you're anticipating the horror that's coming. You have no idea what's coming.
Well, I have good news for you because the scene that actually there are a few moments, and Christian and I'll get into it, of that actually bring to life things that aren't in the book that are in the movie. But one of them is actually that moment where she's sitting with Cinna, waiting the countdown for waiting to get into the tube.
She's
shaking.
Before I had read the book, I just didn't pay attention, avoided all the trailers and anything. The trailers had already been out when I started to finally take Christian Harloff's advice in life and read the book. When I finished the first book, the first thing I did is got online and looked up the trailer. When that comes on and the countdown's starting and that final scene and Cinna's looking at her, I got emotional in my own room at 2 in the morning for good reasons finally. But so I would hope that was still in there. Otherwise, I'm going to leave my line tent right now.
Well, that's the thing, though, is the fact that like the book, it's almost like a thriller, like a horror.
It's a thriller. I held my breath through 3 of the chapters in the arena.
There's like some scary.
You
stuff
really
going on.
shouldn't read underwater.
And that's one of the things too that really hurt the movie. And again, it's time, it's rated R stuff. It's the fact that the tributes and the districts, and like Catherine said, like you knew in the book how poor these people were and how hungry. And one of the main things in the games were how it was so hard to find food.
She's grilling up a raccoon in like the first 5 seconds that she's in the arena.
They've got tie-in cookbooks at Hot Topic. That's a problem, I think. You could buy them.
Yeah,
you could buy cookbooks on what to.
Right.
There's so much stuff going on, like in the arena in the book that it's so hard to capture. Because look, I'll tell you, like I really love the fact in the trailers that they didn't show the games. I loved it. I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was a lot. But I wanted it to be like type of games that I read in the book because the lead up in the movie, even though like, and I think Catherine and I both, we were at that point. They still had us, and they had us throughout the movie. But you know what I mean? Like when the game starts,
you're so
we're both
invested
like,
in the story.
We're so
You're
ready.
ready.
We're shaking. We're like, okay. Maybe everything.
I
wasn't,
literally keep punching
Yes.
Christian in the arm.
and we're like, okay, maybe the setup wasn't so great yet, but
here we are. Here we are.
I'm still ready to go. It's a good pay-per-view special, and the pre stuff was great. Let's go. And then it's just like and again I say we needed a voiceover so much to get in her head to say like even when she's looking at the berries, no Katniss, remember what your dad told you. Remember this,
I was the one thing I told Christian in an email about the day of the screening is I said I hope that there's a voiceover because I don't know how else we're going to know the audience is going to learn all this information. Okay, so here's something, if I may, that is in the movie that is not in the book, in the first book. So Rue dies. She goes away. The flowers pick her up. They cut to.
You're right.
They cut to District 11, and they start rioting. which doesn't actually happen in the first book.
Happens in Catching Fire.
Exactly.
book two.
It happens in the second one. But we watch, and it's the first moment that I felt emotionally connected
Right.
to the people.
But that gives me hope. That gives me hope as far
Because,
as
that's the second book, man.
But the thing is, too, I think that I just don't, because 2 and 3, again, we can still talk about the movie from the first one, but 2 and 3, there are some gruesome deaths again. There's some
Yes.
gruesome stuff that, especially in the third one, it's a bloody riot.
Oh, my
How do you
God.
make that movie
How do you-
PG-13?
How do you end the movie?
You haven't read the third
How
one?
do you
Oh, no.
finish it?
All right, well, wait,
Finish
well,
it right now.
I'll
Finish it right
we'll
now.
start-
Get the book.
Katie,
Get it off the shelf.
Katie has not read. I'm not going to talk about the third one yet. Well, wait.
Can we please talk about the biggest problem with this movie?
I'll tell you when we talk about 3, and then you can cover yours.
I cannot believe we haven't brought it up yet. And I don't even know, Christian and I actually haven't. It's the first movie we saw together where we haven't been able to speak about it yet.
Yeah.
So we haven't even talked about this, but I'm guessing you feel the same way.
Okay.
My biggest problem in the film was Josh Hutcherson.
I'm glad you said it. PETA.
What the fuck?
Let me tell you. Look, here's the thing. I like Josh Hutcherson a lot.
Me too.
And I was very happy when he was cast as PETA.
Me too, until I saw it.
He felt like he was acting in the movie, and I felt also that the chemistry. I thought there was better chemistry with Anakin Skywalker and Padme.
I was going to go to Hayden Christensen.
than there was.
Portland crowd.
But again, showing how great Jennifer Lawrence is. She was like, you could see her going, okay, work with me here, kid. Come on. Like, she's so good.
First of all, she is a woman. She shouldn't be a 17-year-old, but I went with her. Okay, you're 17.
She's only 20.
She's 20.
But she looks like a woman
She does.
to me.
She does.
Oh, yeah, she
yes,
does.
But,
And to
Candy's
her
pants,
credit-
put your pants back on.
To her credit, she's gorgeous, and
Yeah.
I had issues when I first heard that she was cast as Katniss, but then you fall in love with her. I dig her. I'm on board with JLR. But now when she's in the cave with him, first of all,
You remember what I said about the scene before we started?
Yep,
Catherine
yeah.
goes, "Oh, there's some scenes that I know when to go to the bathroom." I go, "What? When would you go to the bathroom?" And she's like, "The cave scene." I go, "Oh, it's a good scene."
well, by the way, there's like 8 cave scenes, and in this movie there's one, and nothing
One
happens.
big one, yeah.
But there's no injection. I mean, there's so many things that aren't.
No,
Anyway,
but here's the thing though. There's and I'm going to put the link in the Podbean description and also put it on our Facebook thing. And I don't know if I've ever sent this to you. There's this guy that made these short films of the Hunger Games, and it's got like over 3 million views now each one. But they did the Rue scene, and they did the Haymitch scene from the second movie when they showed how he won the games and stuff. And and the scene that this guy shot with Rue, and they did the cave scene, and both those scenes have more emotion and power, and it's because, and I'm telling you, when you see the blood and stuff inside of this scene, but. One other thing I wanted to talk about with Katniss and PETA. In the book, the relationship is massaged, like from everybody, from Suzanne Collins telling you inside Katniss's head, from the way PETA's reacting, and Haymitch, doing a couple, letting us know that you have to do this in order to
it's part of the game. Yeah, it's part of the game.
Now, there's a little bit of that, and it seems kind of rushed. But I talked to somebody who saw the movie afterwards, and I said. And they had asked me actually. They said, "What do you think about Like they said, Katniss and PETA. Like, so she doesn't really like him, right?" And I go, "You're not supposed to know." She's like, "In the movie, it seems like she's just doing it for the game. In the book, she's conflicted. She may like him as far as we know. We don't like."
At least one of those kisses was real towards the end.
We think that.
Right.
We think that in the book. But in the movie, Haymitch sends it and goes, "You call that a kiss?" And she's like, "All right, you're right. I got
But
kiss."
the reason she's conflicted in the book is because PETA is one of the most well-written characters.
Absolutely.
He is. I don't think. His character is written so that you adore him.
Right.
He's constantly self-deprecating.
Yep.
He's funny. He's lovable.
Yeah.
He doesn't really care about what the Capitol thinks of him.
Right.
And in this, I actually was kind of picturing him just a little bit husky. I was in love with him. I was totally Team PETA. And I watched this movie and I'm like, wait, this kid. First of all, he looks like he has a bad dye job. He's completely angry and anxious the whole time. He's never lovable. How are we supposed to believe
He's
that
likable
Katniss?
one time.
How are we supposed to believe that Katniss falls in love with him?
I agree. He's likable one time though.
When?
I thought with Flickerman, I thought he came off confident. I thought he showed that PETA confidence. No,
Disagree.
That's supposed to be the key turn in his character
woof,
too,
woof.
yeah, no, huh? Okay.
No, I thought Caesar Flickerman came off hilarious. I just kept looking at him going, who is this bullshitty guy? I don't know. Everything genuine about him in the book didn't deliver for me.
But again, let's see. The thing is, too, this is what is good about the fact that there are going to be 4 movies. He's got 2, 3, and 4 to
warm it up.
He's got to warm it up, you know.
Warm it up, PETA.
And they've got, but they have to connect more between Jennifer Lawrence and Peeta. And one of the reasons, too, is
She looks like his big sister.
She's like 5 feet taller than him.
That's what I'm saying. She's
Yeah,
a woman.
well,
She looks like a woman next to
She
him.
could dribble him down the court and shoot a 3 with him. Like, literally. He's so tiny compared to
She
her.
should be cutting the crusts off of his sandwiches, not kissing him.
Her and Gail now, you believe more.
Oh my God! Can he just fucking throw her around? You know what I mean?
and put your face in
And
CGI?
just, can I just?
You want like a supermarket?
I want to be.
romance
Yeah,
on the
I
cover
want
of
to
those
be
books. Yes.
the stunt double for Jennifer Lawrence in the aggressive, rough sex
See,
scene.
this is the problem now. This is the problem now with the movie now.
That's when
because
it becomes an HBO series.
yeah, no, I would do it.
Well,
I would believe.
Actually, I'm going to abandon my last point. The fact that you just said that with the HBO series. This brings me to the Game of Thrones.
I just finished the first book.
Now,
finally.
Game of Thrones is so deep and there's so much stuff and it's so bloody
Love
and so
it.
gory.
Love it.
Now, the reason it's so successful is because you can't miss an inch of detail and you can cover everything throughout those episodes. Do you guys think that the Hunger Games would have benefited more from being either an HBO or an AMC television show?
I think that's possible. I don't think you're going to be able to. It's too much of an event movie.
Of course,
they needed
of course.
to make that.
I'm talking about
but
I'm
yeah,
not talking about
having fun
realistically.
because you haven't read the Game of Thrones books, right?
No, I won't do
I
it.
Nor-
finally broke down and did it because I just wanted to, but I haven't read the second one. Finished the first.
Same
book.
thing, right?
The series doesn't miss a thing.
That's what I'm saying.
From
Right.
the book,
Right.
See, but what if
Because
they
it doesn't
just
have to.
part 1 did and part 2 did Harry Potter style,
Each
and just
book
filled
would've been tougher.
filled in the details?
But I'm telling you, Catherine, you missed so much from the rated R and PG-13. And the reason I'm again saying handcuffed because when she in the book when she gets released into the games, all bloody hell.
Oh, that
breaks
first
loose.
murder right in front of her.
But it's
cornucopia,
in
yeah.
it's like in the movie.
I jumped when
it's
I read
born, It's born identity stuff.
All I want to do is sit in your apartment and watch you read
I
at
know,
2 in
it's
the morning.
true.
Is that weird?
It's going to be a YouTube special. It's going to be. A
I just
series.
want to
You really
watch you.
should.
Ken reads books.
He's not
alone.
breathing again. He's not breathing, and he's crying.
That's right. But Gary Ross does this. Gary Ross does this, the shaky thing and the quick cuts, so you don't ever get too
You're never
much,
seeing anybody's reaction.
because you don't want to get too bloody because then you get the R. But there's like that whole scene. You're like, wait, who just died? What happened? And
You know what it feels like? It feels like, you know when you watch a TV show and at the top they go, previously on.
Yeah.
That's what the
Yeah.
whole movie feels like.
Like 24. It's like
you're
a 24 episode.
You're seeing tiny little clips of what actually is happening.
Yes. And that's the thing is that if you don't watching it for someone who's never read the books. So someone who's never read the books, if you're watching it, you're going, okay, cool, that was pretty great. That was pretty. Oh well, kids are dying, and you're not thinking about. Wait a minute, you don't even know the backstory behind that person. You know what I mean?
But at some point you just have to realize you're afflicted because you read the books first.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Someone who's never read the books, seeing the movie, is not going to be
I
affected.
probably envy them now.
Yeah, but
that's right.
and I bring it back to David Fincher. I did not feel that way. It is possible.
It's rated R.
It is possible.
I'm telling you, it was a hard R on. He didn't have to leave anything out of. Can you? All right, imagine Dragon Tattoo.
the emotion doesn't have to be cut
it
out.
does. Imagine Dragon Tattoo as a PG-13 movie and go into that rape scene. You can't show it, and
Which,
all
but
that
by
emotion.
the way, I remember watching that rape scene and going, "This is about a fourth of the detail and gore that's in the book."
Right.
However, I preferred it. I preferred the edited version, and
but
he
again-
redid the ending. I mean, talk about bravery.
100%. But the
Talk
thing is,
about
too,
rape
think,
scenes.
but think about that. But think about it even less as a PG-13. Think about all the stuff you cut down, all the sex scene in Dragon Tattoo. That's kind of her vice and what she uses and stuff. You talk about a lot of the really kind of graphic details. You make Dragon Tattoo PG-13 and handcuff it. It is a significantly less. of a film.
This is apples and oranges, which is why we can't. The actual films can't be compared. It's the transition of turning book to film because the emotion of Dragon Tattoo, regardless of rape, happens in every scene. Regardless, in the
It's the
Hunger
cut, though,
Games,
Catherine, I'm telling you,
without
it's the
the
cut.
blood.
It-
but I'm not talking about the bloody scenes. I'm talking
I'm
about the
talking about the cut,
emotion
the
of
editing.
that opening scene.
Yeah.
Where she stands in for at the reaping.
Yeah.
That scene was not good.
Well,
It wasn't. It didn't
but
do the book
but-
justice.
But I think that scene is more effective than a scene like that Rue scene. When, like, I'm telling you, watch this short on YouTube. With the reason that the blood is effective is because you see this poor girl who was in this because you really feel.
But
it.
the emotion
She's
wasn't there regardless of the blood.
But it's because think about it as an acting point of view. If like you have all this blood coming down your face, and as an actress, and the blood is there, and you're more into it, and you really feel like you're dying. But then you're just sitting there with no blood, no cuts or anything too, and they're like, okay, this poor girl who's like 10.
No
Now-
doubt.
You know what I
no
mean?
doubt
Like,
the blood pushes it.
That's what I mean.
But I'm saying that with blood,
why the emotion
blood or
wasn't
not,
there.
no, emotion comes without blood. Emotion is an acting skill.
Yes, but I'm saying it can trigger the emotion. That's what I'm saying. Like if this girl who was 10 years old actually felt with this blood in her mouth and felt like and saw like the guy actually getting
Absolutely.
shot. Like,
Blood helps.
But it just, you know what I mean? It becomes more realistic. I'm not telling you have to make everything like Kill Bill to where limbs and everything are flying off, but to the fact that you make me think, okay, wow. Like again, here's an example like PG-13 movie Lord of the Rings, which is a great adaptation. Okay, and I mean, I know fans had their problem with it too, but the violence in that, it's a different type of violence completely, and I understand that. But the violence in it enough was a kind of...
But I almost think going to Lord of the Rings, I think it kind of backs up to Catherine's point. You can grab the emotions from the book and put it from the source material and put it into the movies in a certain way. I haven't seen this movie yet. I'm excited still. Going to make that judgment. I'll talk to you two next week maybe. But I think what you're saying is maybe that the creative team behind this kind of maybe misfired on some of the core emotions.
It's so rushed.
Yeah, it is.
And
They read
emotional
scenes, made judgment calls on what the emotions were in that scene, and maybe they just misfired on the
And I
judgments.
think that's
The moment in the book where she all of a sudden screams out "PETA" and then covers her
yeah.
mouth because they announced that two from the same
That was one of my
district can
favorite
win.
parts.
Sure, it's not even in the movie. These moments that are emotionally captivating, regardless of
now
blood
I'm
and
gonna see a
gore,
matinee showing.
really
Yeah,
rock
I
you.
know. There's a lot of stuff that, I mean, again, and Kato is one of the best villains in a
Yeah.
book, and he just kind of seems like a steroided out Malfoy in this.
That is so perfectly put,
Right?
Christian. There, and so is Glimmer. Every time Glimmer opens
Glimmer
her
was
mouth,
so good, and she's so good in the book.
she's so good in the book.
In the
In the
book.
movie, you're like,
It's like something like Gossip Girl.
yeah, did they get
Yeah.
a chick from Gossip Girl? Is
It's
she
in
right
the-
off of 17
yeah.
magazine? Who is this chick?
Yeah, and that's the thing though, because if you know, Catherine and I knew exactly who this person was. Like, if you're someone who hasn't read it, and I mentioned, and you've seen the movie, you've just seen the movie, and I say, what'd you think about Foxface? Or you'd be like, who?
Right.
You know, In the book, you know who Foxface.
In the movie, you don't even know her. Basically, someone says like briefly, "Oh, Foxface," and you're like,
She's
they
an
don't- they
extra.
don't-
She's an extra with a wig. That's what she is in
Absolutely.
this
They
movie.
just cut to her. Hey,
Yeah, they're like there's a craft services girl. Okay, we need you to run into there. Okay, now run back out.
Another scene that totally disappointed me was the pyramid, blowing up the pyramid food.
I know. Oh yeah. Well, here again, and this is so, and this is the same problem I ran
I'm so
into.
sorry,
This is the
guys.
same problem I ran into in my review. I know it sounds like we're hating on the movie. And
I know because
it
it's a
does.
good movie.
I know it does. I know I didn't hate the movie.
Neither did I.
It's just the fact that there's
Right on the
just
cusp.
so much missing from it. And I hope, and this can lead us into, unless there's any other points you want to hit inside the movie.
No, go for it.
Now I think
The ending sucks. Continue.
This will lead the mutts and everything too. But this will lead us into
They weren't the mutts, by the way, are not
genetically
the tributes. They're not.
not?
They're not.
No.
They're just mutts.
why would you?
Well, they're
genetically engineered
created,
mutts.
They're created from like this computer, which I didn't.
Well, that's
have-
another thing. Seneca Crane does not exist in the first book.
He does.
Right,
Yes, he does.
Well, no, but I mean, not
it's
really.
His
It's a
name is
flash,
never
yeah.
mentioned in the first book. It's mentioned in the second book.
That's what I'm saying.
yeah,
But in the
yeah,
first
yeah.
book, it's just a flash of a
It's
character.
just
It's nothing that. Yeah.
Right.
He's a huge-
And President Snow has a bigger presence in this one
Than the
than he
first book,
does, which I didn't mind.
Well, they're
because
setting
you
up
have
the,
setting him
yeah,
up,
the
and
trilogy.
yeah, he becomes the emperor. So I mean,
Yeah.
he is the emperor. So you have to do that.
I was hoping they were going to show blood flowing from his lips at one point,
Right.
but they didn't.
No, and that's the thing, because again, they could have have you seen V for Vendetta?
Yes.
No.
Okay,
Not a
that's
fan.
another one. Really?
Nope.
Wow.
Sorry.
Well, V for Vendetta has the type
Because
of
I know the
tone-
fans think I love everything.
I know. They know you hate everything.
I don't.
V for Warhorse. V for Vendetta.
Did not hate Warhorse.
I know. V for Vendetta has this kind of tone of that the Capitol should have had, like in the way that the main president was in V for Vendetta. That's kind of what I'm hoping for Snow. And Donald Sutherland's great. I like where we're going here. Leading us into Catching Fire. Okay, Catching Fire, and Catherine disagrees with me here, but Catching Fire is my favorite book out of the three. To me, it feels like Empire Strikes Back.
It does. Number one's still my favorite book
Me
because the
too.
emotions it brought up. But yeah, the ending of two, I had no idea that was going to happen. You can't, and it,
The second half of 2 rules.
yeah, it does because it throws you a loop. You're like, where are they going to go with this? They're just repeating a plot device. Oh, that's where they're going with it. It's
Were
amazing.
you so annoyed also? Were you like, really? She's going back to the
game.
arena?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I was
Holy.
halfway through that
actually
book. I know.
loved-
I
Did you
didn't
feel
like-
manipulated?
I felt like
No, see,
like we're just,
I don't because because of where it goes.
Well, of course,
but where it goes.
eventually
But at the
you
time,
love
no.
it.
When I turned that page, I was like,
See, well then damn the both of you, because we're at the second. You ever read the
Damnation.
second one? Oh, okay.
Christian kind of takes things personally.
I do take it personally when I'm invested
No,
enough, and that's the reason that I'm so passionate about the movie. As opposed, but f that. Okay, so the thing is, I had confidence because I loved the first one so much. I said, you know what, Suzanne Collins, you take me to the second arena again, bitch. And I'm saying in general, not not calling her a bitch, but it's just like a
You did.
right. Anyway, I'm calling you a bitch too, Kenny. But
Naturally.
when we get to the arena there, and when you find out kind of what's going on and the reasons behind it, and it also sets up probably the best character next to Katniss, and that's Finnick.
Correct. No,
Okay.
absolutely. It does all that in the end. I'm happy with it. But what Catherine said, that exact moment in the book, I did kind
You're
of go,
frustrated.
I just
You're
don't
absolutely
have
frustrated.
the energy
You're
to go
supposed to
through
get
another
manipulated.
game.
I was totally exhausted by it. I'm like,
I
oh man,
love it.
because I was so invested the first time she went in
Yeah.
there. I was so terrified.
Yeah.
Every time
Absolutely.
she got a food source, I was like, oh, thank God I could sleep tonight. Like, you're so relieved. And then all of a sudden she's going back in and you just don't know what to do with yourself.
Right.
You're so frustrated.
I like it because it's just changed the whole tone of the
No, it
series.
did. In
I
the
know what
end,
you're saying. I know what you're
book-
saying.
Yeah.
But
We're not arguing
I
that
know
it's a-
you're not. I know. I get it. But I'm saying for me, the reason I liked it, and because it did, because when you first, I'm saying I didn't. When I read it, I didn't
Okay.
feel like.
So you're
hey,
smarter
Christian,
than us.
we're not.
okay?
Easy.
Damn you two.
You
Easy,
saw the end
Christian.
at that point.
You guys. Well, this is about shitting on the movie, okay? Not shitting on the books. Kenny is tearing up a copy of Catching Fire right now.
I am.
No, but
just
but
peed on it.
I think what we're going to wind up doing here is we should think about is the casting of Finnick, because that is crucial.
Has it already been cast?
No, not yet. And you know that is going to be the biggest Hunger Games.
That's going to, I think, drive the story of the next 3 movies.
has to.
Can they recast PETA, please?
I don't think that's going to happen right now.
Is that impossible?
Yeah, probably. So. In about 30 years in the remake, it'll be somebody else.
Yeah.
But
the reboot.
Yeah, the reboot. You mean in 10 years?
or Spider-Man, maybe 4. But you know, now we have spoken about this on a previous podcast, Finnick. Now,
Yes.
You had mentioned somebody a couple of, and I, when you initially mentioned it, wasn't crazy about it. But the more I think about it, I'm getting on board.
Who?
And that was Army Hammer.
I don't think that was me, but I am all about
I
that.
thought you. Well, maybe you didn't say it. I thought you said
That wasn't me, but I like that idea.
Yeah, Army Hammer was on, and although I think he's too big, of an actor is Ryan Gosling, which I know you love. But
I would have such problems with that. I hate him.
I really
I
think
hate the way he looks. I hate the way he
you
acts.
need an unknown.
Not a big fan of his
you think
chest.
we need an unknown? I don't know.
I think, to me, these type of movies,
That's
I think
too
can
hard,
benefit
man.
from
That
an
is a
unknown.
big role. You need
By the
personality.
way, I agree with you.
There's
I
a-
love
Really?
seeing new faces because I don't attach it to their previous films.
I'm with
For
you normally.
event movies like this, I think it benefits having unknowns.
I agree with
Which
you.
is
a
what
lot.
happened with Woody Harrelson with me. Woody Harrelson, even though I think he did a very good job,
thinking
I'm watching
Woody
him
the
the
whole
whole time. I'm like, he's stoned. You know, like it's hard to like think of him as
Can we
Haymitch.
You know what? Let's talk about. We'll come back to Finnick in a second. Let's talk about Haymitch because I said to Ellis in the review, I said, "Did you see Haymitch as a fall down, sloppy drunk?"
Yes.
And
he throws up on him, falls off the stage in the first scene in the book.
In the book, but
Yeah.
in the movie, I asked him this, and he said, "No, I didn't really see him as a big sloppy drunk."
Right.
He is in the beginning, but it
Barely.
takes, when you're reading the book, you're rooting for Haymitch to come on, dude, get behind these kids, and he doesn't. He's not even that
He
big of
turns
a.
so quick. He falls in love
Oh,
with
in this?
Katniss in like a second.
Yeah. Kenny, another Star Wars reference. His turn is faster than Anakin's to Darth Vader.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like he's like, okay, I'm
That's
drunk.
pretty damn fast.
Yeah, he's like, okay, I'm drunk. Now I'm on your side. I'm gonna get your
Also,
sponsor.
another thing we see that we don't see in the book is we actually see him working the sponsors.
That was cool.
Oh,
though.
that's
I love.
liked-
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
It's a
right.
great fit.
That
I was
kind of-
hoping to read that in the book. I was hoping to have
Yeah.
more outside.
Yeah,
the
yeah.
arena. Okay.
I mean, it's by the way, it's
I'm on board.
there's no words. It's
Yeah.
just all
I liked it.
under
I wanted to
music.
see more of that type of stuff, and I wanted to.
Yeah.
See, and I, again, think it could have benefited from voiceover, but look, it is what it is. The movie it's out there now. We really want to know what you guys think of the movie too. So on the iTunes section, let us know what you thought. If you agree with us on Catherine's review, go check her review out. Let us know on the Schmoes review. Let us know. Tell us your thoughts. If you've seen the movie, tell us. Do you agree? If you read the books, what you think. If you didn't, what you think. Really want to know. Now back
let
to
us know if you're disappointed in PETA too, because
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
wondering if everyone feels this way.
me too. Now what? Now
You can also
going
go
back.
to Catherine's website, replacepeta.com.
That's
It's
right.
true.
That's
Movement
It's
online.
true. I want to start a petition to make Hunger Games rated R.com. But anyway, so Finnick, now between Army Hammer and Ryan Gosling, the reason I say that you get a known for this role is because Finnick in general has star power, and I agree with you that an unknown, if you cast them
That's a good
right-
point. That's a good point.
Now, if you cast Finnick right, you can get maybe a Harrison Ford type thing that happens in Indiana
Indiana Jones.
I thought you meant current Harrison Ford for this for Finnick.
Yeah, right. Please.
With earring, please.
Yes, with you. No, but like when he got casted in Star Wars, even as Han Solo, you went, who the hell is this guy? But it's so much charisma, he became a
Yeah,
star.
but he was an unknown.
It's lightning in a bottle.
That's true.
That was my point. That's my point.
Okay, I thought you were making a point for casting a
Christian,
star.
we're not attacking
No.
you every second.
But that's
You need
a
to
gun.
relax.
Put down
that
We're in
gun.
support
Lay
of
down
you.
that gun.
Why is he so out of control right
lightning
now?
in a bottle. That's the thing. Is that
Blame the hat.
but then you tried to do an
Militaristic.
unknown, and you put Anakin, you put Hayden Christensen.
Yeah, but now it's been established that Lucas and his producing team for the second time around was just idiots. I mean, come on.
Sometimes having
What if Finnick was played by Jar Jar Binks?
awesome,
That's called a Star Wars reference, guys. That was my first one. Put him up.
Oh wow!
How'd it feel? How'd it feel?
Wow.
awful.
Felt pretty good.
Okay,
Felt pretty good.
What's the actor's name that played Jar Jar?
His name
Ahmed
was,
Best.
Don't you look?
was
Ahmed
bad
Ahmed Best.
weirdo
Best.
face.
Bad weirdo face. It was definitely.
And
bad
I don't
weirdo
blame him for anything.
face. No, but that's because you read the Entertainment Weekly article.
Even before that.
Yeah. Now,
But
no,
yes.
no. I think if you can, I'm not against an unknown, but
You're not against Jar Jar Binks playing Finnick.
But I think your point is right. It is the character is a celebrity.
Yeah.
In
It's a
the
star-
book,
yes, he's
it
a
is
star.
a celebrity. So you could get away with the right celebrity.
yeah, I mean, I don't think that you should be
Casting.
someone's. That's why I'm saying I think Ryan Gosling may be too big, and by the
I
time
think
that
Army
happens,
is
too
the
old.
right medium.
he's right there. But the
Right
problem,
now he
right,
is.
That's the thing.
He might be huge by
He might
then.
be huge. You know who also would have been okay? Would have been Chris Hemsworth, but but at this point he's humongous.
And they're
I
they're
can't.
shooting
Too
this
many.
summer.
That's also a risk of too many boners in one movie.
Right.
I don't know how I
There
get
you
through
go. There you go. So
Sweatpants.
but that character is such a huge.
It's the key to the key to the last half of the second book and
Yeah.
and all the third one.
So that's going to be you're going to get a lot of people, going
Aroused.
nuts. Yes,
Yeah.
it's still on. So Catching
We've lost
Fire.
Catherine.
You got to I think
Boner.
what they have to gain in the movie of Catching Fire was that it is. You're right. It is slower than the first book.
The first
but
half.
But there's a lot of stuff that you can do in a movie to really forward the story of what will eventually be episode 3 and 4 because they're doing 4 movies. So
You know, there is that moment, though, at the top of the first book, just because I'm currently in it. We're basically getting the aftermath of the games, and she hasn't spoken to PETA, but they're neighbors, and they live in Victory Village, and her family isn't hungry anymore. She's hunting, but she doesn't really have to. There's all these things where you're like, okay, you're kind of curious about what happens to her after the games, and
Right.
the whole games, you're just hoping that she's stuck in Victor Village and she's going to be happy. So you finally get that moment of sunshine that you don't get at the end of this book or this movie,
no,
the
you
first
get,
book.
you get the beginning at the end of this movie. You get the beginning of Catching Fire, the very end,
Kind of.
like for that little.
Yeah, the image of the
The tours and
pram
stuff.
on
Yeah,
top
yeah.
of his shoulders and everything.
Yeah.
But then there's that great moment where she goes home from hunting and President Snow is
Yeah,
waiting in her
yeah.
bedroom.
Right.
And that's an epic scene. I hope they open the movie with it. I mean, I think it's a
Yeah,
huge moment.
I think President Snow in the next movies has to be a little. I mean, he's evil, but he needs to be creepier because in the books he is. They refer to him as a snake.
Well, and his
Yeah.
lips, there's all this description about how his lips are engineered to spread across
Right,
his face,
right.
and he just doesn't look like someone who's been altered. Donald
No.
Sutherland is just a handsome old Southerner looking guy.
And that's okay. I don't mind if they're like the same way they altered Caesar Flickerman's skin is blue.
Right.
The same thing. Like
You know whose face would have been perfect for it?
For what?
For President Snow. He's too young, maybe. But who's the guy who played Scarecrow in Batman?
Kieran.
Yeah, he has kind of a
Cillian Murphy.
weird face, that weird
Yeah,
affected
but you know who
face.
also would have been good is that Bill. Who's the guy that played he was the voice in Rango, and he's the
Johnny
no,
Depp.
Bill. Shit, he's an older guy, but he's killing me. Anyway, go ahead, Catherine. Make another point. I'll look it up. I'll tell you who because this guy is.
Yeah, I guess I was bothered that Donald Sutherland looks like just a naturally aging gentleman.
That scene in the book, the way they described it, is the blood dripping, the smell of roses. It's like you have
Yes.
no idea what's going on.
Yes.
And the payoff is great later on. I know I don't want to spoil it for our producer here, but she just ran out of the room.
I don't know why she had to cry.
Yeah.
Over dramatic.
The actor that I thought could have played Snow is Bill Nye.
Oh yeah, not the science guy,
No.
but the actor.
Oh yeah.
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 He would have
Absolutely.
been. He
Although
looks creepy.
again, he does, but he looks a little aged. You know, he's kind of President Snow is this symbol of what the Capitol's all about.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And you kind of want this pinned back, odd-looking alien face.
Right.
You know.
Well, and again, and I think that that's one of the things that the audience won't. That's they're going to get. They're going to know President Snow as Donald Sutherland. They're gonna, and that I don't think that's the big one of the
But
bigger
like
problems.
both like Stanley Tucci and Wes Bentley, who plays Seneca Crane,
With that
have
beard,
sort
right.
of a bizarre quality
and
going
Effie
on.
Trinket.
And Effie Trinket.
How was that done?
Effie Trinket, by the way,
Was well done.
Was great. And
Yeah.
Elizabeth Banks, I can be tough on at times. I thought she was absolutely abysmal in that.
Man on a Ledge.
Oh God, I wanted her to quit acting after seeing that.
That
but
was tough.
She was awful. But
Yeah,
but
agreed.
but she is fantastic in this movie, and is
Costume don't hurt you.
No,
I mean, when you're transformed.
right, and that's everything that I thought of. She nailed it. I thought her and Jennifer Lawrence nailed it. I thought
Were you a little disappointed in Lenny Kravitz? He wasn't given much to do.
He wasn't given much to do. So, no, and I thought what Cinna, the main thing Cinna has to pull off is kindness, and I thought Lenny Kravitz does that so well. The kindness and
Did
support.
you think he was kind of gay in the book?
Yes, I assume so.
So, me too.
Yeah.
Okay. Senna ain't gay. You keep
Oh.
waiting for Jennifer to straddle him.
Right, and this, he's just a smooth dude, and his
Now
helpers.
I am on board.
Yeah, that's right.
And we gotcha.
You know his helpers have a much bigger presence in the book.
That's
Just,
right.
you see them. You
They
see
talk
them.
about
Portia and
Yeah.
No, Avoxes are a little downplayed too as well.
No
A-
Avoxes.
No Avoxes. There's-
Give me some Avox.
All right, I'm going. I'm
And
going to
that's-
go watch the Muppet movie again.
Yeah, and that's the thing with the Avoxes. Like I was in the trailer.
They show it.
Wait, that's the thing. In the trailer, I was like, "Oh, this is exciting," because you see that ship, and I'm like, "Oh, then that's when they're going to steal the
That's
Avoxes."
right, that's right.
And in the movie, it's just the ship; it flies overhead, and they run out of the way because they don't want to get caught. And I'm like,
hate movies.
where is the Avox? That scene is so. But again,
It
I
would
don't
have been
think
so powerful if they actually did that at the top of the movie.
With
And we saw her
voiceover.
later, and then we saw her later
Yes.
serving her food.
But yes, with voiceover again, I wanted
Yeah,
to
voiceover's a problem.
because Katniss's thoughts and Katniss.
Did they completely cut them from the universe?
Yeah, they're gone.
How are they going to pay off the? Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But I mean, like they
It's
have-
also, I just love every time I feel like she has an ally in the Capitol, even if it's someone
Right.
who's a servant.
Right.
You just feel you just want her to have people on her
you
side.
grasped onto that relationship because it was
Yes.
it was so
Complicated.
conflicted
And she didn't
complicated.
save her.
Right.
Right.
there was so much, absolutely so much that just I don't know, but. They're gonna take two, and Gary Ross is coming back for two. What I did love what Gary Ross said, and I respect him so much for this. He said he refuses, and you will never see a Hunger Games movie in 3D ever.
That is good.
It's great.
That
He
is
said-
very
he said-
good.
He said he's not against 3D.
Yeah, how deep do you have to be in the games?
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
Exactly. It's an arrow right in your face. But like that's the thing is that you don't have to.
Oh, can I bring up something that's going to
course.
sound Reitman involved?
Yeah.
Did the dogs at the end of the movie remind you of a dog from any other movie, Christian?
They did very much look like Ghostbuster dogs. Absolutely.
It literally comes out, and I was about to whisper it to Christian, and I'm like, he's going to give me hell about it if I say it.
No, I mean,
And now I'm saying
you could have said it now, and I agree with you. But at the time, I wouldn't have wanted you to say it at all.
No, at that time, it's the end of the movie. Silencio needed.
A little better CGI nowadays, but yes, they are the same.
Agreed.
They absolutely
Agreed.
have the same.
But I kept waiting to see Glimmer's eyes in the dog, you know?
I agree, but
They have like collars that had their number also dangling.
yeah.
The whole deal.
They-
Not so much.
no. Let's. So I mean, now we got to get into Mockingjay. Now, Katie's covering her.
I'm so sorry, Katie.
Now there is so much. This book, Mockingjay, it's
packed.
It's a bloody
It's back.
mess.
How are they going to do that PG-13?
You cannot. You
Can
have
they
to-
switch the third one to R?
But you could.
They have to. But
You could
why
do the
not?
Harry Potter thing and kind of gently nudge things a
Yeah,
little
good
darker.
example.
You know.
But I'm telling you, when you see this movie, you're
Is
going to
Gary
understand.
Ross attached to all three?
He's doing two. He's not. It's not that he's not doing 3
Okay.
or 4. We don't know, but that's still not him, though. It's the studio. It's Lionsgate
Sure.
saying, "Listen,
Money, money,
yeah,
money."
Look, we're going to take a hit, but if they listen to the fans this time around, and I get it that I know how hard it is that you're going to lose a lot of dollars here and watch, and especially after this opening weekend, you're looking at 160 to $200 million.
I hope so. I hope it's
gonna
slaughtered.
be, it's insane. It's going to be it's
Tell
gonna be so much.
fucking bury Twilight.
Yeah, well, that's one of the things that I think it's going to do in general because the difference is Twilight is just for teenage girls. That's it. Like, you're not going to ever have Kenny and me pointing a finger at Kenny's face saying, "Oh, I wish the movie would have this." I don't give a shit about that movie ever.
But there is something about the fact that this has a wider audience, like Christian's saying, but also for these girls. Like, I saw a couple girls, even at the press screening, that had like a braid down their back.
Right. There's more power to the character.
It's very empowering for you, as opposed to Bella Swan, who's slinking around. Like, these girls, it's teaching you to stand up for your little sister, and that romance comes second to taking care of your family, and you have to be smart and brave.
And Jennifer Lawrence does that in the movie.
100%.
Right. And again, with the I think that we would be it would be unfair of us to not go over some of the really positive things again in the movie.
Well, and we do. There's things you see in the movie that you can't get in the book,
Right.
and details fleshed out, like
Yes.
the Capitol. You can't get that in the book.
And the fact that from what Jennifer Lawrence gives you in this movie, you're going to be with her from movie 1 to movie 4. Whatever she
Absolutely,
does,
she's great.
She's great in it. She is.
And by the way, it's a great story.
Yeah, and
It's a good story, movie or book.
Yes, and Katniss brought it to life. I mean, Jennifer Lawrence brought Katniss to life. And then
PETA sucks, though.
We're hoping that he can get flushed out. We're hoping that he is able to do some stuff.
Listen, my heart is open. I'm going
Right.
to see the movie again tonight. I don't know if I told you that.
No, you didn't tell me. You
I
wanna
am
see it tonight?
going again
Oh,
tonight.
I got to talk to you. Call me tomorrow.
I will,
All
I
right.
will.
All right. Now
I'll call you tonight.
All right, that's fine. Now, going back to Mockingjay, which, again, I wish there would have been a little more definition in the Mockingjay and all that kind of stuff, too, but we're past that.
There's only one moment I keep thinking of in Mockingjay, and that's when Prim goes in to help at the very end.
Right.
Yeah.
In the second explosion.
Right.
And that's one of those things where if I don't know a bigger emotional moment,
Yeah.
if that is not fleshed out properly with a little bit of R, as Christian says, a little bit of blood, I don't know what we're going to do.
The movies have to they have to decide now if the movie, because here's the thing, if the first movie is successful, we know it's going to be successful. If you do rated R for the next 3 movies, people are still going to see them.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
That's what I'm saying.
You're absolutely right.
So
have some faith. Have some faith.
It's not going to happen, dude. It's the studio system. But I'm telling you that could
Crazier
happen.
things have happened.
Now, Katie, please cover your ears here because I'm going. Maybe you want to step into the next room if you have
Fill
to.
your ears with wax,
Go
Katie.
change the baby.
Yeah.
Get me some food.
It's the Prim situation.
Yeah.
It's the whole thing with Snow at the very end.
Yeah.
Prim, by the way, is great in the movie. Agreed?
She's great.
I think she's great.
Good casting. Good casting.
Yep.
The mother is
Willow
I really wish the
Shields.
mother would have a lot more to do, but that whole relationship is not.
Yeah, but
really-
that's not really fleshed out yet. Oh, God, how about that great dream sequence with the elevator that goes down the shaft?
Yeah, that was a really good.
Showing the mine.
And the dad.
There's a great sequence in
Yeah.
there in the movie that you don't really feel in the book.
And I thought they did the bread sequence pretty good too.
Bread sequence.
PETA, the main reason with PETA and her with the bread. Yeah, well, you had just read it that day. It's not that bad. It's pretty good.
It was nice to see bread. I like bread.
Now, I want to see. You know that Jennifer Lawrence's emotion's going to come out during that Prim scene. We know that's.
Ooh, I hope so.
But now the question is, the very end of Mockingjay,
Yes.
when you're running around in that scene in that city, Mockingjay is my least favorite of the books.
Mine too.
But I think that's one that is some of the improvements they made in the movie was stuff that you didn't see. I think they need to do a lot of that for Mockingjay, and I think they need
Right.
to change the ending of Mockingjay.
Did
And
you
I
guys
think-
feel? I totally agree
I
with
think
you.
everyone would be okay if they changed.
I
the ending
totally
of
agree with
Mockingjay.
you. Do you guys feel like by the third book, all of a sudden you felt like you were reading a Twilight-esque series?
Yes.
I remember halfway through the third book, I'm like, wait, I'm reading a teenager book.
It's
Yeah, no,
everyone
you're
started
right.
getting more love angles.
I was
Yeah, yeah.
that, and I was also upset in the third book because then the hero kind of becomes depressed. She doesn't want to get involved. I felt
She
reading
lost
it.
momentum.
Yeah, I was like, she doesn't even want to do what she's doing. She wants
but
to
when you get to when you get to when they're in the
Yeah.
Capitol and they're over and they're
yeah. But
Yeah.
halfway through the book, I was actually upset, and I did for the first time feel like,
Oh,
God.
I'm reading a teenage girl book.
I'm a lecher.
Home Alone.
I just
wish-
drove my
I wish-
white unmarked van to the bookstore and bought this.
I wish that we were live streaming right now because Katie has her hands
For the
pressed
last 10 minutes, she's
into
been like
her
this.
ears. Her ears are bleeding more than any blood scene in the entire
Are you
Hunger Games
exhausted?
movie.
What have you heard? Have you heard anything?
Oh, okay, she is so nervous.
Humming to herself.
All I want to do is rip her hands out of her ears right now and say everything. I just want to do it.
Yeah,
I'm not going to.
But all right,
I'm going to protect you.
You can lower it. We're gonna end the
And how about-
talk. We're gonna
Do you see how nervous she
But
got?
I want, but keep them plugged, Katie.
earmuffs.
How you want to change the ending? Like what?
I want to not
Like you want a dance scene with
Yeah,
Boss and Ass holding the
what's
peace
the
sword?
Christian ending?
not the ending.
They
Not
don't
the
dance
ending
with the
President-
Ewoks?
Not with President
She
Snow.
sleeps with Snow.
Not the Snow and the gun stuff. Like that stuff we need.
Okay.
I'm talking about the very end of the district and when Gail's like, I'm good. And then they have the kids and all this shit. It's like,
Oh, right.
that stuff. The little stuff that happens at the
And
very
he plants primrose around the house.
You know what I mean? That stuff. It's just kind of, because especially now that Josh Hutcherson is okay.
Recast him.
Right.
I thought the Gale character
wanna
was a
see her
good,
get inside Katniss?
kind of what war can do to people, and I thought it was that kind of comment, and I
He
thought
would
that's why
take-
his character went that way.
Yeah, I know. I get that, but I just, you're going to get a really depressing ending.
I'm okay with that, but
We'll see. It just depends on how it's done. I don't know.
Listen, I after seeing Dragon Tattoo, not to keep harping on this,
Yeah.
but after seeing the significant change Fincher did to the ending, and that was a really strong, that was a totally different ending. Forget Australia and the sheepdogs and the whole thing.
right.
Forget the sister storyline. He just totally switched it, and it was better. It was a better ending. It was more fulfilling.
I'm sticking with my guns though. He had so much more freedom to, with the R stuff. He didn't have to worry. He could do whatever he wanted. I know that's completely different
Totally,
story-wise,
but the R stuff didn't.
I know,
Once
story-wise.
again, this didn't regard that ending. The
I know.
ending had nothing to do with R. It was just better.
But I know, but it's leading up to, but it's all the moments that lead up to it because of the tone. He doesn't have to go, oh, well, we can't show that because of this. Oh, no, she can't say that because of this. And that won't lead up to that moment. Oh, we can't do that moment because of this. Like,
This
you
has
don't ever-
nothing to do with what I'm talking about.
I understand what you're saying, the story-wise.
I can't get a point. I can't get a
get
point.
what you're saying with the story points. Sorry, go ahead.
No, if we're talking strictly about the Mockingjay ending, and are they allowed to switch the ending for the film?
No.
They are absolutely allowed. I think David Fincher has made that abundantly clear that it can be
That
better.
point, yes.
I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with that, but
sick of you.
I just don't like the idea of taking the that what you're talking about, the
Right.
specific ending about those characters. I don't. I like that ending.
Well, did you like the movie First Blood?
What's that?
What?
Rambo First
Did
Blood?
you like the movie First Blood, the
Yeah.
first one?
Yeah.
Did you like the ending?
I haven't seen it in 10 years, so
Right. Well,
I'm with you.
let me go get a VHS tape and I'll let you know.
But you don't. Not enough to. They changed the ending of that book, and the book was phenomenal. And it's another book. It's one.
There's precedent for doing that. I get that.
Rambo dies in the book.
I'm just giving a personal preference here.
You read
I like that
Rambo.
ending.
See, that is silliness and ignorance. 1972, David Morrell's First Blood novel came out. Okay, and it was
I
a
didn't even know
Vietnam.
it was a book.
Exactly, and the reason why you laugh at it is because you think it's Stallone going. It was like a psychological. Like,
and
it was such a
the first
thriller.
movie's different than
I
any of
have
the
no
sequels.
just
doubt.
like Hunger Games.
I have no doubt that you're right. It's just so funny that you haven't read Girl with a Dragon Tattoo, but you read Rambo. For me, that's very funny.
Well, again, it's First Blood was it's if they would have put Stallone in this movie, you'd be saying I can't believe you're Hunger Games. You know what I mean? Because it's like this who got cast in the movie.
Right.
It's a psychological thriller.
Although, if
guys.
you saw the movie and you watched PETA and her romance, you wouldn't read the book.
This is probably true. But anyway, there's so much stuff that we could still talk about with the Hunger Games. We're obviously huge fans, and there's a reason that we're
so passionate.
Yes, and
Yes.
and I agree
There's
with
a reason Christian punched me.
and Catherine.
Krisha got intense today. Maybe I did too.
No,
We all did.
you're fine.
Wait a minute. Yeah, you blame me. She's like, oh my God, I can't take it. Oh my God. We get into like little heated arguments here. But
We're like a married couple today.
yes, one of the things.
A lot of bickering going on.
A lot of bickering.
A lot of do the dishes here.
What I'm going to do here is we asked you guys to submit some questions on both Facebook, on Twitter, on ours, on Catherine's, and you have asked a bunch of questions. I'm going to get as many as I can because my internet's going to die and I'm going to lose some. That's the kind of professionalism we deal with on this show. Now, one of the questions is, hey guys, when you first heard about the movie, which character besides Katniss were you the most excited to see come to life and why?
PETA.
Yeah.
Because it was so beautifully written. I feel like I'm screaming for your
No,
daughter. I'm
that's
so
all
sorry.
right. She's not sleeping.
It's just such a well-crafted character, and the idea of this guy who's self-deprecating and kind of funny and doesn't take the arena seriously took the edge off of it for me. I was so excited to see him come to life.
For me, it's Haymitch.
Haymitch for
Yeah,
me.
and here's and thinking of that, what makes me upset because in the book, the movie, now where Haymitch goes in 2 and 3, you're just going to expect him to do it
Yeah, it's an easy fix.
because now
He goes from District 1 to District 12 in a second. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because the thing with
Okay, because the ending of 2, you're like, oh,
right,
he
because
oh.
the thing with Haymitch is that Haymitch, you just think that he's just kind of. He's just doing his thing, and he likes
He's
these
Gene
kids now.
Hackman
So he's
from
help-
Hoosiers.
Yes, yeah, for sure. And
Yes.
then once everything, you realize what he really is doing, you're like, great. Now, because of Woody Harrelson, the way he plays him, I go, okay, I definitely see that happening. But Haymitch for me.
Good question.
Yeah. That was from William Bond Nunn.
Hi, William.
Now, Let's see. This Chris Harper asks, "Why should I care about this movie if I have not read the books?"
Great question.
It is, and
It's a great story.
yeah,
Period.
I think it's a good story. I think that Jennifer Lawrence's performance alone is worth watching. I think that she takes you into an emotional level for sure, and my daughter agrees as she yells in the background.
You're married?
Yes, I am actually.
It's also one of those things like this is part of our generation. This is a part of history, when this book comes to life. And I think, just like there's a lot of stories, and basically this goes against everything I say about Star Wars, but you have to watch things, I think, to be part of a generation.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's enriching.
Yeah, I agree with you. You
You got to see it.
Yeah,
Fava Goes
I,
West was mine.
I think it's a movie that
I
everyone
am
should
with
definitely see.
you. I loved it.
Yes. Let's see. Scott Jarnagin. Okay, if I pronounced you wrong, I
job,
forget
man.
it. Do you think the Hunger Games movies will get better like the Harry Potter series?
We hope so, Scott.
That was my point.
Now,
Have faith. It
but
can
you
get
added-
darker. The tone can change.
But Harry Potter's PG-13 in the book and in the movie.
But the last couple are pretty
it gets
dark,
pretty
and there's
serious.
some gruesome
Yeah,
stuff in there.
For sure, but you're
You
also
need to
dealing...
release the 13 and R for 1 second
Uh-huh.
because that's actually a great point. Harry Potter from 1 to 7, part 2,
Yeah.
whatever it was.
8, whatever.
It gets so dark and so scary. By the time that snake strikes at him several times, I mean, that's a really gruesome moment.
Absolutely.
And there's not tons of blood.
When
That's why you
Voldemort
can stay in
has the
PG-13.
teacher held upside down, floating, and blood's dripping from her face.
It's creepy.
And it goes to what Catherine was saying earlier. You don't
You don't
always
need the
a ton of blood
to need the
do it.
intensity and the darkness.
Yes, but you're also... The thing is, too...
It's like a
that's-
pro
that's-
wrestling
but that's
match,
a-
Christian. You don't always need a blade.
But that's the same reason with the Lord of the Rings thing. You're in a fantastical or fantasy world. You're in a different thing where
All right,
you
we'll
can
throw some
use
capes
scary...
on 'em.
Yes, let's have Haymitch turn into a monster in the middle of it. But like that's the
I
thing
just
is
think
that this
it's
is all
too
real.
It's too simple thinking that it's just blood that makes this so beautiful.
That's not my point. That's not my point. Is that it's blood? I'm just saying that it's an element that you're taking away. You're making it more like a movie. It becomes more of a movie by not showing me like, oh well, that person's not
yeah,
really
but the
hurt.
things that maybe this is the woman in me, and I can't believe I just said that. But the emotion that comes from scenes in, let's say, Harry Potter is what. And I didn't read the Harry Potter book, so
Right, me
maybe
neither.
I'm not the
Neither.
right person to speak. But I got connected due to their emotion, not due to any sort of violence.
Sure, and again, it's not just and we can talk about this forever,
You're
but
right. I'm sorry.
it's not just that for me. There's more to it. It's not.
You
that I just
wanted a
wanna-
grittier, realistic
It's just-
I'm with you
movie.
on that.
Yeah,
I
because-
wanted more grit. I
And
wanted
you
more
got
blood.
a
I
hot
wanted more
topic
dirt.
merchandise tied in.
Well, let me make a point about
That's-
a point about Braveheart. Okay, now Braveheart is a gruesome movie.
Yes.
Now, maybe you didn't need all the head cutting off and stuff like that, but the thing was when it happened in the movie, you go, that shit really happened in the 14th century.
You feel for him in a different way because he witnessed that gore.
Yes, and when he's
Totally.
out and when he's on the battlefield and he has the blood on his face and he sticks his sword out in the air and all of his boys got the blood all over you're like, holy these guys were just through it, man.
Yes.
And that's the kind of thing that I mean, like just it's just a visual that your mind connects from seeing it. I don't need to see like
That's a great point.
yeah, so I don't,
Understood.
So that's my biggest thing. It's that I agree with you that it's all about emotion connected. And I think that had you maybe had a better actor than Josh Hutcherson in that scene in the cave, or maybe put more time into getting to the reaping, if you would have got more into that, I agree with you that could have made that scene more powerful.
She's just such a badass already,
Yeah.
and she's so stone cold.
Right.
That I actually am more interested in watching her soften through PETA than harden through blood and violence.
I agree
That's
with
what
you.
was so interesting to me about the book.
For sure, absolutely. We've talked about
Good
what
point.
you think of Katniss and Peter. We've talked
Oprah
about
would
that.
be proud.
Not the
see.
first time she'd be proud of me.
We've talked about a lot of these things actually.
We've covered a lot.
Reed Sweat. How would you, or Sweet? It's SWEATT. So we'll say Sweet.
Sure.
All right, Reed Sweet. What movies this year could you see? Well, that's something totally different. Sorry.
Sorry, Reed Sweet.
Yeah, sorry. Well, you know what? He asked what movie. What movie this year you think could be nominated for the Year of Viewers or for Best Picture? And we'll just say, can Hunger Games be nominated? With 10 nominees, maybe. I don't see it happening with Dark Knight and all these other things.
It's also coming out awfully early in the year.
Yeah, it's tough. And then let's see. We'll do one more.
Make it a good one, Christian.
Yes. Patrick Whittington. What movie set will eventually do better, Twilight or The Hunger Games?
I hope Hunger Games.
Here's the problem why I don't think overall it will. I think doesn't Twilight have more
romance.
No, who cares about that? The more movies.
No, but the target audience for young girls, romance,
Yes.
is going to keep them invested longer, and the romance in this is lacking.
Yes, that's true.
Until Gale gets in there and takes off his shirt, everyone's going to line up to see that,
And I don't.
including me.
That's a great song. That'll be
I saw
available.
her writing that in her car out
That'll
front.
be, it's available on iTunes.
running
yeah.
it. You got to run it.
Yeah.
And the difference is that Katniss, Jennifer Lawrence, and Josh Hutcherson will never have sex in real life, unlike Twilight. So,
Oh, right.
but no.
And Liam Hemsworth is too busy with Miley Cyrus.
Ugh. Now there's more.
Yeah.
Fact.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons people were mad that he got.
He should
cast,
leave
which
her
is silly.
and come and find me. I'll have sex with him fast. In every position.
That's their second. What's
That's Hunger Games 5. It's on Cinemax every Saturday at
Unbelievable.
midnight.
What is the so what was the question to that the Catherine songs? I mean, you should be on The Voice.
Listen, not the first person to tell me that.
Yeah. What is now the thing with Katniss and with Peeta? I'm wondering with their chemistry, if it doesn't improve, if it will hurt the box office. I don't think so, but I still think Twilight might.
I think you are not giving enough credit to young girls
Yeah,
who
yeah.
are going to this
They
movie
don't
to see
care.
the love.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
want to see the romance.
I think those young girls are not going to give a shit the same way that you do about.
Well,
Peeta.
here's why, and I think
I
you're
think
right.
they're gonna like
Yeah,
it.
Be-
no,
you know,
that-
the same way
that's my
that they
point.
vote for the American Idol that's more like pussy than strong.
Yeah.
Josh Hutcherson is non-threatening.
Right.
You know what I mean? He's like that young kid who won a couple years back next to the big buff hot guy who plays the guitar.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? He is totally digestible.
I think teenagers are going to love Josh Hutcherson.
Yes.
They're going to.
They're all idiots.
But now, as far as making more money, I don't know. They're going to make four. They're going to make 4 movies. There's what 6 Twilight movies? 5? How many movies
Too
are
many.
there? Too many.
About 6 too many.
So I think it has a step. Will it beat Harry Potter? No.
No.
Harry Potter has
No.
way too many movies and way too better crafted stories.
And
It's
there's
not
a fan
gonna-
base that just
Yeah.
goes all
And-
across the board.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're right. It's a larger fan base.
So no,
A
I don't.
lot of men in their 30s.
Right. So I don't think that's going to happen at all. So how are we doing? 110. Okay. I think that's unless there's any other points. That
No, I think I would like you all to know, that I love you both, and we went through a couple moments today, but
Yeah, we
we're
worked through
we're
it.
still together.
we are. We're
We're
very
a unit.
Yes, and
I
there's-
think Ellis would have checked out about 50 minutes ago.
You
No.
were absolutely right.
No, you know what though? I think the thing with Mark is that I think he's going to get invested in these stories the more he watches the movies,
Of
for
course.
sure. I think he really dug it.
When I watched your review of my bathrobe and my underwear yesterday,
Too much?
9 in the
No,
morning.
Not enough.
It's all right.
He seemed to actually enjoy it. I know
did.
his rating was on the average side, but he seemed to actually enjoy the characters.
I think that he just wanted.
He also is a sucker, dare I say, and this will reveal how much I truly love him. I think he's a sucker for romance.
Oh, he is
He is
self-admittedly
the most-
loves
Yeah,
romantic
he's a
comedies.
softie.
He
Asexual
loves-
platypus ever.
Yeah, he loves romantic comedies. He loves them, and he talks about them
He
all the
writes
time.
very
And,
non-sexual poetry.
and he's been cutting back on it, but he will
we held
say
hands
that-
for most of the movie.
I saw that and other stuff going on. But Twilight, by the way, he has actually talked about. I don't mind these movies at all. I don't mind them. All right, and I try to
Except
punch
much
him.
louder.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, that guy
He's
wakes
got a
up.
voice.
Oh man. Anyway,
Got a voice for arenas.
so that's going to be our Hunger Games podcast for
Solid.
Yeah, I think it was pretty good. We talked. Obviously, you saw us as fans, and like even saying again what we said before. You absolutely have to see this movie. It's an event. You would be silly if you didn't see it. Just to check out what the hype's all about. It's a good movie. Oh, sorry. Before we go, I have to give one more thing that I promised myself I would say. These battle royale comparisons,
Oh,
stick them up
yeah.
your fucking ass. Okay, and I cursed
Yeah.
because it's like I'm so sick of them.
Are we not allowed to curse?
Yeah,
I've
you
been
can.
cursing all the time.
No, you can curse. I
Can't curse
haven't
in
done it a
space.
couple
You're
times.
just better than that.
No. I'm
You're just a bigger person.
The story can the same type of human prey story can be traced back to the 1924 The Most Dangerous Game.
Right.
It's an
Ex-
old.
Everything
Yes.
is being remade.
Yeah,
it's
because
all
it's
remade.
because they hear teenagers-
cynical thing.
But I want to tell
go
a
that
story,
route.
and I told
Agreed.
Catherine this story on when we got there. There was this movie critic, and like Mark and I say, and Catherine will also say, we do not consider ourselves movie critics. We are fans like everyone else. We're film fans who you happen to review movies the same way you would with your friends. That's
Sure.
the main thing. critics to me are people who tell you that their opinion is better than yours, and if
Well,
you don't
that they're
like it-
right, you're wrong.
Right.
Exactly.
So I sat down. I mean, I had walked in, to the Hunger Games, and I was waiting on this line, and there's this guy, this critic that I see all the time, and he's just this cynical critic that he's the one guy on Rotten Tomatoes that if he sees everybody else gives it a positive, he gives it a rating, so you click on his review. This guy is sitting there, and he's already trying to stir stuff up, and he goes, "Oh, just like Battle Royale, huh?" And I go, it's nothing like Battle Royale except the fact that it's similar in the game, that there's kids trying to kill each other, and this guy went on and on and on trying to go into it. And it's like these self-entitled critics. Just stop. That's my public service announcement before we end this podcast.
Great story, Christian.
Thank you.
It had a beginning, a middle, and
it had no end. It had no end whatsoever. I was going to talk about the end, and I'm thinking to myself,
I have another good story. I went to the grocery store today, and I really wanted to get cereal, but
And
I
you
couldn't
bought it,
figure out what
I
cereal
hate
to
your
get.
guts.
But then I bought one.
I'm so
I
sick
can't wait
of
to
you.
eat it tomorrow.
in improv, we call that new choice. Make it now.
I know I should have. I was going to go into the whole story, but I realized we're going to be here for another half an hour. And
Close shop, Christian.
Sorry. I'm leaving. All right, just a couple things I want to say before we leave. Again, I would here, Catherine. I'm going to break this news that you told me today.
Yes.
All right, now we're in. This is coming out on Friday and Podbean, Saturday, iTunes. So this
So I
will
was
already
in
be out.
yesterday's.
Yes, you were in yesterday's. The Variety. I'm sure you can see it on Variety.com.
Yes.
What's it all about? Catherine was interviewed. Give us the scoop.
The scoop is that BID is graduating, my movie review show. We're partnering with a company called Revision 3. Thanks, guys. And they've got other huge shows like Totally Rad and Film Riot and Epic Mealtime and some, Sexy Phil, some pretty big YouTube names. And I will definitely be small potatoes over there, but hopefully it'll bring some advertisements and, just get us,
What
help
they
us
ask you?
grow.
What kind of stuff did they ask you?
In the interview,
Mm-hmm.
it was cool. They sort of asked about YouTube, and I brought up the schmoes and the YouTube movie reviewing community in general and how effing awesome it is. I don't know what they're actually going to
Right. We don't-
write. They did ask me about my father and brother a lot, which I was kind of expecting. And, they asked, like, if I watch their movie, will I give it a honest review?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, absolutely. Listen, I've ripped apart movies that I have been in myself. Friends with benefits. So this is not, this is not new news.
Right.
It just so happens that the two films I've reviewed thus far,
You've loved.
I've loved.
Right.
But listen, there are plenty of movies my father's made and a few my brother have made that I'm not such a huge fan of. So, anyway.
Well, I can't. Well, that one also that will be up on. You can find. We're going to post that on Facebook. We're going to post it on Twitter. We'll have it on. Actually, we'll put it on the schmoesknow.com website as well, and we'll link it in a couple of our videos. So that's that. Like I said in the beginning of the podcast, our great producer Katie is leaving us. We are going to miss you. Thank you so much for everything that you did.
You really went out with a bang. We just spoiled the whole book for her.
I know.
ruined
She's
her
upset.
life for the
Sorry, Katie.
That's what you get for leaving us. But
Yeah.
no, she has been a part of a lot of all the great podcasts you've heard with Tom Harnold and Katie Sackhoff, and I mean just all the great episodes. It was because of Katie, and she really stepped up the quality. And the reason we were in the top 20 on iTunes TV and film is because you came and joined. And really
You're all I know.
thank you.
You're all I know in
Yes.
podcastering.
Sure, thank you. But during this podcast, I got a text from Mark Ellis himself, and I found
The real Mark
the real
Ellis?
Mark Ellis, and we actually have been confirmed. We are going to be on the Toad Hop Network on Wednesdays.
Hey!
From 9 to 10 in the morning, and you can find us on iTunes, but you can also watch the show live, and you'll be able to call in as well. Those will probably actually happen in mid-April now that I'm being told. Catherine may or may not be with us for the first couple because she's doing her VH1 show.
I'll be there as many times as I can be.
Yeah, Kenny Knapsack will be coming filling in with her because he's a little bit better looking, just a little bit.
Easier on the eyes and in the hands.
That's right. So make sure you check that out. And if you want to know where, what's going on with that, I'm posting all the information. So you can follow us on Facebook.com/SchmoesKnow, Twitter @SchmoesKnow. Make sure you check out Catherine Reitman at YouTube.com/ or just /Catherine Reitman, BID. Kenny Knapsack can be followed at Cospan, right?
Twitter @Cospan, KOZPAN. Also Millennium Pro Wrestling, my pro wrestling endeavors, and Pro Wrestling 1, and the Those Guys web series.
That's right. And that's about it. I am very excited that we have come to a close here. And make sure you check out Mark Ellis, by the way, if you're in Kentucky. He's doing comedy. Thank you very much. Very happy to sign off, and we'll talk to you next time on Toad Hop.